County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use in our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Young. Here. Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Very good. Well, we're going to start off. We have a special certificate for Sue Huebner. Kristen Kane, if you'd please come to the podium and introduce Sue.
So I'm here today to celebrate one of the Lake County Volunteer Network RSVP volunteers, Sue Huber. She was recognized on Sunday by Lakeland's Women's Center with a Woman of Achievement Award. She was one of 10 volunteers women recognized. I did nominate Sue due to the theme of the event this year, which was Leading with Light. And Sue volunteered all through the pandemic. She answered calls at the Lake County General Health District, helping seniors register for their shots and their boosters. She works in the Meals on Wheels kitchen to keep seniors independent and living in their homes. She volunteers at Lake Metro Parks in their adaptive program for disabilities, so to make sure people have access to the parks. And she is also volunteering at the Lake Humane Society. So I would like to have Sue come up, and part of the award that they do at the Women Achievement is they have a local artist make a special award for all the women, and so this is a light, so Leading with Light, and the artist made this beautiful light for all the women. So we're here to recognize Sue for leading with light. Over the past few years during this pandemic, she's volunteered all the way through, and we're just very appreciative of all the services she's given to seniors and residents in Lake County.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to say something?
I just want to say that I didn't mean to dress down for the meeting today, but I happened to see this shirt in a store, and I thought no word could actually convey how I felt about receiving this award and about the fact that I have the ability in my retirement years and the time and energy to volunteer, because it's been very important to me. So thank you very much for inviting me to be here. I'm very glad and very happy to have been nominated by Kristen for this award, and as I said, very lucky to be a part of the whole group. So thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
Indeed. We're blessed to have you as part of the team. Commissioners, anything you want to add?
Well, Mr. President, I would just say we've all heard the phrase, it's better to give than to receive. And people who volunteer like Sue understand that in a way that no one else does. But it's a special person who gets that by giving back to their community, they have their own blessing of health and energy and strength and support and all the people you meet along the way. But once again, it takes a very special person to realize that. So Lake County is blessed to have you working for us and with us for our seniors and for so many in need. And the words thank you aren't enough, but they're not said enough, so we're grateful we have the chance to thank you, and hopefully we'll be volunteering together. I know that Kristen loves to get all of us out, and we'll be excited to work with you in many, many happy, healthy years to come.
Thank you so much, so much.
I just want to say thank you. It's amazing that you and others that you represent today here do so much for our communities, simply because you care and you want to help and you like people. I believe, I can tell by your smile, I think you like people. And you just want to make a difference. And that's so honorable, and that's so worthy of our praise. So
thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much.
You're welcome. And Sue, if we may present you with this?
Oh yes, of course.
So we're going to sneak over here.
As we all go, you know. This is the important one.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Very good. Well, we're still in our public comment portion here. John.
John, music 45.
Gotcha.
There
Okay.
we
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Painesville Township. I got two things. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Plechnik, Randy, and the prosecutor's office. Randy mentioned to me that we now have 1,500 seniors receiving senior discounts on water and sewer here in Lake County. And as we all know, as you get older, seniors need help, and I want to thank you, and I also want to thank the commissioners for passing that. So I'm sure there's a lot of people, someday they will become seniors, and they will, like I always say, you can look in from outside, but until you work within, and you are one, then you really know what's truly going on. So thank you. The other thing I read this morning, Ohio Supreme Court ruled against the last redistricting. So now they got to go forth again. Have you heard anything about this in regards to the election on May 3rd?
Oh, I have, and I believe we are on the verge of a constitutional crisis in the state of Ohio.
Correct, and I agree with you.
That's my opinion. I'll let my colleagues speak for themselves, but I am shocked that we are facing this right now. But as far as any details or anything official, nothing's been brought to my attention. Gentlemen, have you been contacted?
I can only repeat my colleague's statement that this is a constitutional crisis. It's going to be an enormous task for our Board of Elections in Lake and for boards of elections across the state to nonetheless have a free and fair election, even though they're operating on the tightest and most difficult of deadlines. Rather than point fingers and assign blame, I'll just say that we have the best people in Ohio working here in Lake County to make sure that our elections will go off. And we will work very hard. So whatever comes down from Columbus, we will make it work.
Yeah, because the military voting was supposed to start in 2 days here, and of course and now I also read that they said that if it isn't on the desk, and don't quote me on the times, by the March 28th or 29th, there's just no way they can do the May 3rd, so who knows? I read it, so who knows?
I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. It's really frustrating to see that our court, in an attempt to apparently create the perfect election scenario, has created nothing but bedlam as far as the election is concerned. Our Board of Elections is already stretched to the limit. People down there, it has to be nerve-wracking for them, if not almost causing nervous breakdowns in some cases. They are just overly burdened. And I don't see a solution long term when you have two of the major branches of government just at odds with one another, neither willing to compromise. You're in trouble. So we've got a long road to hoe here, and solution isn't going to come easy, I'm afraid.
Right, and I agree with what you said in regards to, I think, well, I worked at the Lake County Board of Elections doing various tasks there, and but what about all the other 87 counties that have Board of Elections that, they have a lot of work to do also. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Sir, if you wish, come on up.
Ron Graham, Health Commissioner with the Lake County Health District. Thank you for your time today, Commissioners and President. I didn't really have anything prepared, but what I think the message is for us, the pandemic's over. Let's stop looking at numbers. The numbers I have is the 15 pounds I gained during COVID-19, like the freshman 15. So just really what the message, if you're higher risk, immunocompromised, definitely consider the vaccine. You know, do social distancing, wear the mask is optional. It gives you some protection, but the message of wearing a mask all the time with employers and people, we need to cut back on that. We need to get them back to church, back to their jobs, back to business and volunteering and all those things that helped. And thank you, Sue, for what Sue did. So the health district's going to come out with some strong messaging to the lifestyle, the things we've all put on hold for 2 years. Really want to keep an eye on potentially a survey or funding, looking at those children that missed kindergarten, first grade, that are now rolling into second grade, or they missed the transition between grade school, elementary, and middle school, junior high, high school. That's going to have, I think, a lot of traumatizing, a lot of emotional immaturity things we got to look at. So we're going to start diving into those projects with the Ohio Department of Education and Ohio Department of Health. They're not there yet. I'm going to be a strong advocate to try to sample and see what the impact is. We have so much more data now than we had before, which was a public health working blind, really. The fact that we have one of the highest counties for local control decisions that I'm aware of, and we still were second most vaccinated in the state. So that's just kudos to everybody that was part of that program. But again, if you have concerns, call us at the health district. You're going to see our web page change to look at more retrospective studies that we have data that, again, we just did not have at the time. So I apologize for that, but just wanted to thank everybody in the community. Everybody here in admin has been wonderful to work with, and certainly legal has been by our side from the very beginning. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I'll just say thank you, and I can tell you from the early hours of this, you've been very open-minded. You drew upon, called upon, and worked with some of the best people in Lake County and that local control issue. I know there were many decisions that were favorable in the state of Ohio that were based out of practices that were first tested right here in Lake County.
Yeah, thank you.
So, no,
Yeah.
thank you, sir, because
thank everybody.
Was essential.
Yeah, and everybody reached out early on, so I appreciate that too. There was support from the get-go, so thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, anything for Commissioner Graham?
Mr. President, first and foremost, I would thank Commissioner Graham because he had pushed as hard as he could to exert local control. When Columbus and DC were losing their minds, the folks in Lake County knew what needed to be done. We always needed to have a sincere and real focus on those most at risk, which is the case in any pandemic, flu season, what have you. That was the way to handle it. It was never mandating masks for 2-year-old kids or shutting down the economy. We knew those were mistakes in Lake County from square one. Common sense folks always knew that was a mistake. At the same time, while politicians were putting people with infectious diseases in senior care facilities, a lot of lives were lost that could have been saved. So I'm grateful that we exerted local control, that we had common sense in Lake County, because you do want to take care of people. We want to put safety first, but that can't be done when politics takes precedent over real medical knowledge and decision making. And I'm grateful that we had strong advocates for local control in Lake County. Wasn't perfect because we don't control everything, but we tried to control as much as we could to protect Lake County, and I'm grateful to our health district for that.
Thank you, flattered, appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to echo those comments as well. You know, what impressed me about the way this was handled from your office was just, you know, with all that knowledge you have, all that training, all that education, you handled this with that knowledge, of course, guiding you, but at the same time, common sense. You just went through this from a practical, logical perspective, knowing what the needs of society are, what the health needs are, what individual needs need to be represented and taken into consideration. And you always answered my calls. While you were doing all that, you were available. You even called me back once, I think it was like, what was it, 2 o'clock in the morning or something?
You'd be correct, yes.
So
I happen to be up, right?
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you for your service.
Thank you, sincerely appreciate that.
Boy, I hate to put you on the spot. We've been praising you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
on a little bit of a limb. KI pills.
Yeah.
I understand that some opportunistic individuals
Yes.
have decided that they're going to grab up the KI pills allocated for inside the 10 miles. They're actually trying to sell them for World War III preppers. I hate to throw that up, but it's like, I can't pass this up. You're standing here, you're the go-to
Absolutely.
guy. Is this a rumor? Is this real? Are there really some scurrilous people?
Yes, we have many people from Florida or out of state looking for KI because they may come back. We're now asking for proof of ID registration to make sure they're in the 10 mile EPZ for that potassium iodide that would protect you during, at least your thyroid, during a nuclear incident. But unfortunately, that is the case, and we've already got messaging out to everybody, the pharmacies that were helping us in EMA. But unfortunately, that's not the team players we are in America sometimes. So, but we're protecting what we need to in Lake County.
And this is the allocation of potassium iodine just
For the
in
gen-
response to the perinuclear power plant, should there ever be a release.
Correct. Highly, highly unlikely, but we're
Highly
going to
unlikely.
protect our students, our residents in that 10 mile EPZ zone.
And we literally have people who are coming in misrepresenting themselves and taking from our distribution
Yeah.
places for inappropriate.
And again,
use.
it's coming post-COVID, so there's a lot of fear and concern already, emotional damage. So we're gonna have some bumps in the road, I think, with fraud and other issues as well. So
There's no delicate way to say this, but we just can't make this stuff up, can we?
not at all. I got a book now.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
a good sport on that. Take care, sir. Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? All right. Madam Clerk, if we could move item 16 up to the first agenda item, please.
Yes, in special resolutions, resolution recognizing March 2022 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion. Alfie, I see you come with many friends and bearing gifts, I might add.
I thank the commissioners for having us here this morning and for each year participating with us in celebrating March as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Each year, the Lake County Board of Developmental Disabilities promotes a theme, and this year's theme, Side by Side, is to promote the exceptional network of collaborative and positive providers we have throughout Lake County to support and provide services to the thousands of individuals, thousands of residents of Lake County who have developmental disabilities. And side by side are all the people that I have here today. The center of all of our services and supports are the individuals that have developmental disabilities. And today I have with me Jake Nelson, who is an incredibly talented and hardworking, engaging, and humorous fellow who is surrounded and supported not only by his family, who is here en masse, but by many of, again, the network of exceptional service providers that we have here in Lake County. So Jake, besides being an incredible individual, is kind of humble. So he's asked his service providers, his network, to speak for him and to highlight his many accomplishments and his talents. So I'm going to introduce first Katie Debley, who is the service coordinator that works with Jake and his family to arrange the services and supports that they would like. Katie.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Katie Debley, SSA for Lake County Board, and I've had the pleasure of working with Jake for about 5 years. He's had services much longer than that, but I've just, my time with the county board. And my role, not only with Jake, but with the other 35 individuals I work with, is to help coordinate services depending on which waiver they have, if they need transportation, if they want to go to work, if they want to live out in the community, or if they just have a provider that comes and takes them places. Well, Jake kind of has all of those services. He's got transportation, he does work in the community, has a job coach, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but Bob Fertino is here to represent from Deepwood Industries. He is the director for the Community Employment Services program there. And Jake, I'm so happy to say, has worked for Lake Metro Parks at Painesville Township Park for 20 years in June. So it's a long, long time. And so his residential staff, Kenny, is here. So I'm going to pass it actually over to Bob. And so Bob can tell you a little bit about Jake's work, and then we'll just keep the ball rolling. But yeah, I just help coordinate everybody, and we all work side by side, and it's a great team. His family is wonderful to work with as well, and great supports for Jake. So
Excellent, thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is a great opportunity to kind of showcase an amazing individual that works in our community employment program. Jake is a very independent guy, and that's really what we try to promote in our program: independence and growth. And Jake personifies that to the nth degree. We are so proud to have him in our program. He is just an amazing employee, an amazing person, more than anything. Unfortunately, his job coach couldn't be here with us today because she's working with other individuals doing the same thing, working side by side with those folks and through our other programs that we have, connected programs throughout our county. But like I said, Jake, we are proud to have him as an employee with our organization. He does a great job at Lake Metro Parks, and he's just a perfect example of a great worker and a great person. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you.
And to get to work is obviously a challenge for all of us in Lake County. But we are so fortunate in Lake County to have such an exceptional public transportation system, and a system that responds especially to the needs of individuals with developmental disabilities. I have Ben Capel here, who provides the transportation not only for Jake, but for so many other individuals. And they always forget to toot their own horn, but I believe they are the only public transportation provider in Ohio who has applied for and received the certification to be a Medicaid non-medical transportation provider to bring additional funds in. So, Ben, did you want to say anything?
You guys know what we do.
Oh, come on, Ben.
Come on.
This is a chance to...
We're side by side, Ben, come on.
Now, keep in mind, she's saying you don't toot your own horn, but I think Department of Transportation regulations require that those horns be tested.
We do. We test our horns regularly. You know, it's really nice to be here today. One of my favorite things about my job is being able to see the direct impact we can have on enhancing folks' quality of life. And that's something that sometimes when you're in the office you don't get to see. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and be part of this. And, you know, it's an amazing network that takes everybody working together to create, you know, those types of opportunities. So I'm just appreciate being here, and, you know, we love serving the community. And I know Alfie said that I provide the transportation. I do have a CDL and can drive a bus, but I don't personally drive them on a regular basis, so.
And that's probably for the best.
But thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. It's great to be here.
Mr. President,
Sir.
First and foremost, we're here to honor Jake and recognize Developmental Disabilities Month, but I'd be remiss if I didn't know two things about Mr. Capel, because he doesn't toot his own horn other than as required for testing purposes by DOT regs. With respect to the Department of Transportation, we're very excited that our CEO, Ben Capel, and his board have worked together to receive a nearly $15 million grant that will pay for the vast majority of the modernization of our headquarters for Lake Tran, as well as a garage where we can actually park those buses in the garage so that they don't take the wear and tear of the snow and the ice. That's going to be a huge benefit for Jake and for so many people in the future. It really benefits all of Lake County, so we're very proud and excited that Ben and his staff, his board, his team have worked together to bring that funding to Lake County so that we can continue to take advantage of Lake Trans services in the most affordable way. And personally, his much appreciated great work has been recognized by the United Way. Ben is not just accomplished, but rather young too. He's one of their 40 under 40 designees this year, so he may not toot his own horn, but Ben's good work is recognized.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. When you mentioned our building, it did make me think of something else. You know, we work with CES to clean our facility and clean buses. So our partnership is not just as a provider. We also love Deepwood and the services they provide to us. So it really is a two-way street.
Phenomenal. Thank you.
Well, Jake's life is a full, rounded life, so we've talked about his work, and we've talked about his transportation and his supports, but he also is an independent individual, lives in his own condominium, proud resident of Fairport Harbor, and his supports there are provided by his family, again, a very extensive, very supportive family, and by a residential service provider, ASL. And today we have Kinney DeHamel here today. Maybe a few words from Kinney.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. I first was Jake's friend, moving in and being his neighbor in Fairport Harbor 6 years ago. And we became fast friends, and when his driver, his HPC, which is a home personal care provider, was no longer able to work for him, he asked if I would take the job. And I would have done it as a friend because I love him so dearly, but it has been a privilege and a pleasure to transport and assist my true hero, Jake Nelson. Jake can do more with one hand and one side of his body working than anyone I know can do with two. And one of the things I've enjoyed in my friendship and my service to Jake is watching him do incredible woodworking projects. It would be very difficult to do what he does with two working hands. But Jake's traumatic brain injury when he was a teenager has left his right side a little bit weak. And so when I take him around, and he is like the Pied Piper of Fairport Harbor, you know, everybody knows him, everybody loves him, and I might be his biggest fan. So just to say what a privilege it is to see individuals who are truly overcomers in this world. Jake could have given up a long time ago with the things that the uphill climb he has physically. Yet he's an overcomer, and for me to be privileged to witness his growth as a man, his joy as a person who loves the natural beauty of the world that God created. He loves his boss, he loves his job, he loves everybody. And for me to be a small part of his life, to witness who this man is, has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, that concludes our side-by-side presentation, but I hope it's brought warmth to everybody's heart and lets the audience know what a privilege, as Kinney said, what a privilege it is that we all have to be able to work with and support these incredible individuals like Jake Nelson. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And if I could echo and amplify some of the things that have been said here, speaking of side-by-side, our Lake County General Health District doing marvelous things here in Lake County and throughout the state is setting a standard. Lake Tran, not only providing needed services here in Lake County, but unique, making Lake County a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. And Deepwood, your years of community service, I know for a fact your agency and your leadership is recognized throughout the state. And I'm saddened to say I understand you get ever closer to retirement, so
That's a nasty rumor.
That's a nasty rumor. Okay, there we go. See, now we're getting rumors out of the way.
I love my job way too much. I mean, look at these wonderful people that I get to work with.
Yes, and it is a true blessing because so many. So with that, we do have this before us.
I wanted to just say,
Commissioner,
quick, just to Jake. Jake, it sounds to me as if you give more than you receive. Everybody here has talked about how much they've gotten from you, what an inspiration you are, what an example you are, etc. The work you do for them, to give them hope and joy and more value and what their work is, whatever type of work they do with you, and it's with you, not just for you. That's the impression. Keep it up. Good work.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Sir.
following off what Commissioner Young said, Jake, thank you. You really exemplify the meaning of Developmental Disabilities Month, which is not about focusing on the challenge, but on overcoming it and the good that you do in our community. I remember my very first job was working in the monastery kitchen for literally a monastery with monks, and it was sweeping floors, setting tables, and I was trained by someone with a developmental disability. And she was the boss. And it took a year before they would let me train other people like her. So I learned right off the bat that we all have different capabilities. I am not good at woodworking. My grandfather was a genius at it. He could carve the most beautiful flowers on desks and tables, and I've got a carving in my office that I'd love to show you that my grandfather made before I was even born. It's a talent that I don't have. Some of us are blessed to do one thing, others are blessed to do another, and the meaning of this month is to remember that while none of us can do everything, we all can contribute in a powerful way, and in spite of the challenges that you've faced, you've inspired all of Lake County. And I hope that all of us can look to you and say, maybe there are some things I can't do, but there's so much that I can. So thank you, Jake.
Indeed. Madam Clerk, if there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. And with that, may we present this to the assembled body here? This is going to be a nice broad. See, it's a good thing we got the health commissioner here to tell us we're allowed to do this.
Might need to call the fire marshal and see if they can pass
Yeah.
John, your zip is down. You guys are good. All right.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Jake, I just want to say congratulations. Thank you for your service, Lord. You do a lot of good. There's not even enough time at this meeting for all the testimonials that they want to do. And, I'll actually, if you give a second, I'll show you that piece. We'll go now. I think that's the most important thing.
Thanks for the work. I was a lifelong resident.
Going right through there.
Still resident.
I just appreciate it.
So I've only been here for 6 years, but it's my it's Kitty Bickham. And I was from Chagrin, but I lived there for 6 years and I what a great county. Oh, I can't stand Chagrin compared to Lake County. It's heaven up here. Lovely to meet you. Thanks for your service. Commissioner Plutchnik. Oh, yeah. His folks are gonna take him home, I think. But you're so dear. He's just so dear. Isn't he amazing? He's such a oh, he's a boo.
Should we hide his phone and see if anybody notices? He said, should we hide his phone and see if
Oh,
anybody
no, he's a
notices?
boo. He's the stories I could tell you.
Wouldn't want to
When
find
we
it to
shut
see
up,
you.
if you could see my poor provider, my poor boss, Aaron Saddam, who, by the way, is the greatest provider. Shoot people his way. He's
Get him?
he almost lost his eye.
Gee, Ron, usually I'm having to go find you.
He's a scrapper. He's a good watcher. I've never had a boss I love more than he is a mover and a shaker. You will send people his way. He's got a brand new baby and a beautiful wife, and he would have been here, but he left for right side. A few others.
All righty. Madam Clerk, if you want to pick up the agenda.
Okay.
Continue on. Thank you, ma'am.
In the engineer's office, resolution providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $10,250,000 aggregate principal amount of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of constructing, reconstructing, paving, and otherwise improving road improvements in the county, included related improvements and all necessary appurtenances thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Engineer, I believe this is promises made, promises kept, so you want to
Well, this is just...
toot your horn there?
Yeah, right. We're just making the, our annual payment for the financing of our road program that we did 3 years ago now. Seems like, or we started it, we just finished it a little over a year ago. And the good news is, people are still buying cars, so we have the money to pay our notes. We won't have to default like Russia.
Oh, good heavens. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, anything else for our engineer?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I would just say we're grateful to our county engineer for his diligent work, not only in the reconstructing and paving of roads, but the related improvements and all necessary appurtenances there too. That's important as well.
Only a lawyer could use that word in a sentence so eloquently. I will yield that, but I will say, though, I made a reference to promises made, promises kept. I hope that our community appreciates the fact that you took care of a 12-year backlog in 2.5 years, saving on the added cost of the maintenance of having to do full depth repairs as opposed to mill and fill, spot repairs, and take a look at the cost of materials now. You hit a home run, sir, and it was a pleasure working with you on putting that financing together.
Well, it's all a matter of timing. If we'd had a crystal ball, we'd have probably jumped on it a lot sooner. But fortunately, we got a lot done before the present problem. This year it's not reflecting so far that we are going to have a big problem with it, but I think the big problem is still to come.
Fair enough, and I'll throw one more thing in there. There's a hearty thank you should go out to our Budget and Finance Director, Mike Matus, for putting that financing structure together. That was absolute genius, and I think, again, we have somebody who serves the people of Lake County very, very quietly, and he's sitting back thinking, quit complimenting me, but well done, Mike. So if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plutchnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to advertise for bids for pavement markings, County Roads 2022 in Lake County, Ohio. Bid opening April 6, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Sir?
Yeah, this is our annual road striping program. The first resolution, number 2, is for our general county roads. Number 3 is for State Route 2 because we have partners that pay half the cost, and so we do separate that out.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plutchnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to advertise for bids for pavement markings, State Route 2 in Lake County, Ohio. Bid opening April 6, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Roniak Paving Incorporated for the LAK Chestnut Street County Road 329 resurfacing project as required by the Lake County engineer in the amount of $716,675.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Sir, do you want to comment on probably the next three?
Okay, well, the next three resolutions are basically our federal sponsored, in ways of money, program for this year. The feds, we got 80% of the funds from the federal government through the Transportation Department. The other 20% is ours. I would note, however, that number 4 and number 6, these two projects are joint ventures with the city of Painesville. The first one, Painesville's paying a majority of the project, and the second one is about 50-50. Lane Road is a continuation from the bridge that we've completed all the way up to Route 20 between 84 and 20, and that is a very important project because that road is being widened and made safer for purposes of the higher traffic that's now coming across it from the bridge.
Very good. Anything else for an engineer? Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Carvo Companies Incorporated for the LAK Lane Road, County Road 123, resurfacing project as required by the Lake County engineer in the amount of $1,847,002.36.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Carvo Companies Incorporated for the LAK Newell Street, County Road 335 resurfacing project as required by the Lake County engineer in the amount of $627,002.70.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution authorizing advertising for requests for proposals for household hazardous waste collections. Open requests for proposal on April 6, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, anything you want to add to that?
We have a contract for household hazardous waste contractor every 3 years. It expired this year, so this is just to allow us to hold 2 events this summer.
Very good, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant March 25th, 2022, in the amount of $490,038.18.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution approving and accepting the Tax Incentive Review Council recommendation and approving the continuation of the Enterprise Zone Agreement between the Lubrizol Corporation and Painesville Township.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving and accepting the Tax Incentive Review Council recommendation and approving the continuation of the Enterprise Zone Agreement between Weston Jet Center Road LLC and the City of Willoughby.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $769,219.92.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $514,964.19.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving the 2022 permanent appropriation measure for the general fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mike? That would be Mike Matus.
Mr. President,
Sir.
as Mike comes up to join us, I want to start by thanking him for his diligent work on this year's budget, as well as all of our staff and the other countywide elected officials who met with us for budget hearings and continue to work with us to make sure their needs are addressed this fiscal year. I always say that nobody talks about the car that starts on the first turn of the key or press of the button these days, I suppose. We talk about the car that doesn't start. So it's very seldom we discuss the county budget in public fora because the county budget balances. The car starts, we do the job. It's not easy work, it's not glamorous work, but it's the most important work that the county commission engages in, and I'm proud that once again we're presenting a balanced budget for the people of Lake County. I doubt there'll be much fanfare because a balanced budget, a stable, steady ship, an engine that starts is not cause for news, but we're proud that we're doing the good work and we're doing it well together with the help of all of our county electeds, our budget director, so thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll take the next two resolutions if you don't mind. First one's the general fund. That's the chief operating fund for the county. It basically covers everything not under Ohio Revised Code restrictions. The full year estimated revenues are $61.2 million, rounded, and projected appropriations are $61.2 million as well. The major increase, it's a 7% increase from last year's budget at the current time. Last year we went in very conservative based on the uncertainty with sales tax, and these numbers project more of a realistic number to previous COVID numbers. I still think it's conservative, but we rather be conservative than aggressive in this. It also conveyance fees with the housing market and so forth with interest rates. That's also a driving force of the revenue. For the appropriations, law enforcement represents our major expense category within medical care with the jail continuing to rise each year. That's a problem we face on a yearly basis. And the judicial and public safety represent approximately 65% of the general fund budget. The increases this year are mainly from the Board of Elections. Board of Elections always in the even years, their budget's significantly higher than the odd years, as well as some increases under the judicial and public safety that the commissioners definitely look at as important throughout Lake County. And then the goal for the general fund really is just to provide the residents of Lake County a good budget, a balanced budget, and try to meet the needs of all the elected officials in their general fund. As we know, it's the biggest driving force is personnel costs, so we try to limit personnel increases and so forth. In regards to the outside general fund, it's really made up of governmental funds and proprietary funds. Governmental funds are special revenues, debt service, permanent improvement funds. These funds account for all grants and other resources whose use is restricted, committed, or assigned to a particular purpose. The proprietary funds are the enterprise funds, and internal service enterprise funds are used to account for any activity which fees are charged to external users for goods or services, water, wastewater, solid waste. And then the internal services are our healthcare accounts, our central purchasing and mailroom. In summing up the projected revenues, it's 270.8 rounded, and appropriations are 296.8. Why that can be, of course, we do have a balanced budget with the carryovers, and a lot of that is utilities projects being closed throughout the year and so forth. I just want to thank the commissioners for their input, as well as Mr. Boyd for partaking in the budget hearings, and a special thanks to the finance department staff for reviewing and so forth with that. So again, thank you to all elected officials and the commissioners for their support on this budget.
Excellent. And while you're there, again, I would like to thank you for your leadership and your input. But you just said it best, though. You do have a good team. And the folks that work in that finance department, they're amazing. They put up with an awful lot. And these have been very difficult times. And I just want to throw a couple things out there, though, how well you work with other departments in the county. I'm going to talk about our healthcare costs. Even though they've been going up, our healthcare costs have actually been less than other agencies similarly situated. A couple of talking points here, if I just want to go into those. Our law enforcement represents a majority of our category expenses, again with medical care, within the jail. And that's continuing to rise significantly each year. And you've managed to account for that and just make us aware in a clear and unambiguous way. Judicial and public safety, that represents 64.81% of the proposed budget. 64.81%. That's staggering. That's not discretionary spending. Those are the facts. As old Joe Friday would say, just the facts. And Mike, if anybody is very good at talking about just the facts, you've got it. Some people say Mike's pretty doggone droll. Well, you know what? I want somebody who's...
I have no problem with that reference whatsoever.
There you go.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do a job. That's what it is. So, again, thank you to commissioners and all the other elected officials for that.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Young, Commissioner Pleshnik, anything else for Mike?
I do have just a quick question.
Yep. Yes, sir.
What do you? This is a hard question. What do you feel will be our major challenge from a budgetary perspective?
Just a continuing personnel cost throughout that. That's always the thing, to try to keep those in check. Also, we're fortunate that we don't have a lot of debt service on the books, but when that falls off, it's not going to be a significant increase to the general fund. And basically, one of the things I'm always concerned about is the projection is for sales tax to return. There's always going to be a shoot that bottoms out with the pandemic at some point in time. If you remember, you were here, we cut everyone's budget by 5% starting July 1st, which equated to approximately 10% budget cut. We're slowly getting back to increasing most of the departments with that, but I'm always worried about, one time, all right, it's a blip. 2 times, 3 times, it's a trend. So we always continue to monitor the revenues on a monthly basis. And like I said, we try to give a balanced budget. And like I said, my main goal is a sustainable budget. So.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Plechik, anything, sir?
Mr. President, I would just say again, thank you to our budget director and all of our electeds and department heads for working so well with us to present a balanced budget for the people of Lake County. We need to keep up the good work, and we can only do that if we stay true to the axiom, we cannot spend more than we take in. And that is a challenge. And our budget director and all of us have to work very hard together to achieve that. But we've done it yet again, and once again, there will be no fanfare. When the car starts, nobody talks about it. But the car starts, the engine runs well, and that's because we've done the fundamentals, we've balanced the budget, and we're going to continue to watch those tax dollars carefully throughout the year.
Very good. All right, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving the 2022 permanent appropriation measure for funds outside the general fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion beyond that which we already had? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities, Randy?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to announce that the Lake County Department of Utilities, in partnership with Ohio Means Jobs, is going to host a hiring event on April 13th of next month from 10 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon at our Learning and Business Center on Blazeney Road by our solid waste facility. We have several positions that are open. It's an opportunity for people to come and talk with division directors and managers directly. We've got openings from supervisors all the way to seasonal positions for this summer and other entry-level positions. We look forward to that event, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more as we get closer to that date.
Very good. Anything for Randy? All right, sir, thank you. All right, Job and Family Services, Suzanne.
Thank you. Today I wanted to share that we are keeping a close eye at Job and Family Services on a new specialized managed care plan out of Ohio Medicaid called Ohio Rise. This program is being created for youth with complex behavioral health and multi-system needs. And the goal of the program is really to prevent custody relinquishment to our department. So this has the potential to really have a huge impact on not only the children and families that we're serving now, but the children and families that we may serve in the future. This program is expected to roll out in July. I'm not exactly sure if that will transpire. That's what we're being told. But we really are very excited for what this will mean for many of the children and families in our community.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything else for Suzanne? Ma'am, thank you. All right, County Administrator Jason Boyd.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just have to note the Commissioner Plechnik's example of the car starting is very appropriate today as Mr. Matus's car sits over at the shop getting fixed. For not starting.
Yeah, but if you flip the key over, it works. So he figured out a workaround.
No, I just thought that was interesting. No, I also want to echo my thanks to Mike and his team, all the other elected officials, department heads. This has been another challenging budget. I continue to learn from Mike and his team and watch what they go through and how they collaborate with the other elected officials, recorder's office, auditor's office, and treasurer's office. It is a true team effort. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes and give and take. So thank you to the commissioners for supporting the finance department and the commissioner staff as we work through this. And with Commissioner Graham here, I said this a while ago. I don't know if it was Ron or Joe Busher, the EMA director, in early February of 20, they called and said, we should probably get together and talk about this, whatever they're calling it, Corona or what, and I said, pretty good idea. So Ron and Joe hosted a department head meeting, I think it was early February. I don't know if you remember that, Ron. And Ron provided an update as to what he knew at the time with coronavirus, which wasn't a lot. And then so I came back and said, I don't really know where this is going. And we had a larger meeting with judges. I think anyone in the county family was invited, where we started to talk about deploying phones in people's homes, ordering, we were blowing up Nick Falcone, getting as many laptops as we could ordered. So a lot of credit and foresight, and I think the county's position as a leader in preparedness was very beneficial to the county governance, the residents and businesses, because I truly think under Ron and Joe's, commissioners, mayors, managers, you name it, leadership, we were a step ahead of folks, when the proverbial X hit the fan on March 9th of 2020. So just want to take that opportunity to kind of talk about that initial meeting that probably very few communities had on a countywide basis prior to even a formal announcement of COVID in the United States. We were a solid probably 6 weeks ahead of that. So I think that's important to note. And as I saw Ron today, it struck me how important that meeting was, at least for me, in preparing department heads and how we're going to run water plants and social services and so on. We had already started to think those things through. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jason. And you do point out a good bit of history there, because I do remember the early days, and Joe Busher with his backpack of plans, ways to adapt and just find the things that fit. Working closely again with Ron Graham. I remember the directive from CDC of taking temperatures, and those thermometers just weren't out there, but we brought in some industrial equipment that we wanted to doing some tech writing. I remember that. We took a project that would have probably taken 2 weeks. We got it done in a few hours. I remember Jason Wooliger using his legal skills working with me, and I'm good at tech writing, so we did the technical side and did the legal, ran it past the prosecutors. I remember getting it to you, and within 2 hours, you made a couple of modest changes, and next thing you know, we've got a procedure and authorization to be using industrial equipment to get us through the gap until we could get some medical rated stuff. It was a true team effort, and I got it also, as long as we're giving out praise, the EMA team and the way they worked with the Ohio EMA. Again, setting standards. And Jason, now I'm just going to throw this out there. we set a national standard for the nuclear power plant. A virtual drill, a virtual certification, set a standard. And Jason, do you want to kind of take the podium, because we lost one of our team members shortly after that. Larry Green.
Yeah, we were already fighting a pandemic, and then preparedness, clearly, as I noted, was in our wheelhouse. But we had to show and display that preparedness on a virtual level last summer, 2 summers ago, to FEMA, to the NRC on, we don't care that we're in a global pandemic. For the first time in 100 years, you have a plant in your backyard that if something were to go awry, how are you going to handle that? Well, typically, as most folks who have been to the EOC know, that place is hopping with probably the better part of 60 professionals. Jim Gills is there, Randy's there, Lake Tran is there, Highway Patrol, National Guard. Well, we weren't really permitted to do that, so we pivoted. The commissioners allocated some funds to kind of get the EOC in a more digital-friendly environment, and we conducted successfully the first one, a virtual drill with probably 10 people at the EOC. It was a very difficult endeavor under Joe's leadership, or Larry's leadership. No, it was Joe. The preparation for that was led by our former EMA director and a dear friend, Larry Green, who passed away during COVID. I remember getting the call, I forget who called me, because we only talked 1 million times a day for 700 days, and said, and broke the news about Larry, and I was shocked. And so not only Larry, I know the county engineer, county utilities, I think every agency in the county's family lost someone during this pandemic. So I am excited as heck for Ron to hear his statements on where he thinks we are coming out of this. I'm excited that it's going to be 70 degrees today and sunny, and we've got a lot of community events that are going to be back on tap, and I think I'll be bringing Neil Stein over in a couple weeks to talk about a commissioner's program with some ARPA funds on really getting people to community festivals in Vintage, Ohio, and the Metro Park. So a lot of good things coming that we all deserve. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for our administrator?
Mr. President,
sir,
just to your point on Commissioner Ron Graham, we've given him a lot of praise at a high level, but I want to drill it back down to one personal experience for one Lake County family. I think this was a Friday. I was tagged by a mother on Twitter. She had been expelled, prevented from entering a library with her young disabled daughter because the library had a very, very stringent policy requiring even children under 2 to wear masks. And the child was distraught, the mother was distraught. She was reaching out to every elected official she could find, and I called Ron Graham, and per Commissioner Young's experience, he immediately called me back. And I seem to recall him saying something to the effect of, my dog and one of my in-laws passed away today, so it might take me until tomorrow morning to handle this. So I'm really sorry it'll take me 24 hours. But I'll get it done over the weekend. And I was shocked that Commissioner Graham was capable of, ready to step in, even given his difficult personal circumstance, and that he was actually apologetic that he couldn't handle it within 20 minutes. But by the next morning, he had sent out guidance to every library in Lake County telling them that it was permissible for children at that age with disabilities to have an exemption from the mask mandate from the state, and that kid could go to the library and take out her book. So in that very practical circumstance, even when he was dealing with difficult life issues, Commissioner Graham immediately stepped in for Lake County families, didn't hesitate. And so putting people first like he does, I want you to have a practical example of the kind of work that Commissioner Graham did on behalf of all of us. And we could talk for hours about many more, but I wanted to bring it back to earth with at least one.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Young, anything?
No.
Oh, very good.
Well said. Well said.
Okay, Madam Clerk, moving on to you.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that the next commissioners meeting is going to be on Thursday, March 24th at 10 a.m. And also on the agenda next week will be the new schedule for the next 3 or 4 months. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No report, Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, old business. Moving on to old business.
Mr. President?
Sir.
Going back a few hundred years to the days of St. Patrick, I just wanted to wish all of Lake County a very happy and blessed St. Patrick's Day. I think that there are few saints who remind us more that you can come to a foreign land as a slave in the most difficult life circumstances and end up the greatest national hero. God has a purpose for each and every one of us, and no matter how difficult our life is, we can overcome. We saw that earlier today as we recognized formally March as Developmental Disabilities Month. Many of us have difficult challenges. The last few years have been perhaps the greatest challenge many Americans have lived through this generation. But challenges don't mean loss or failure. They can bring us to new heights. And we're inspired by the people who overcome the greatest challenges in Lake County, just as St. Patrick overcame the greatest challenges in his day. And that's a big part of what we're celebrating today.
Very good, thank you. And I'm going to talk a little bit about NOACA News, our Northeast Area-Wide Coordinating Agency. The fiscal year 2022 NOACA TLCI Implementation Program Recommendations. It's official. Painesville City is, I'm going to say, the poster child for getting it right. Their Painesville City's downtown complete street and streetscape enhancement. It's not simply enough to say that it was a very meritorious proposal. It was probably one of the best presentations seen at the agency, and that they broke through, I'm going to call it the glass ceiling, if you will, of funding. They literally have hit an all-time high, receiving $375,000 for their project. Their ask was $475,000, and I will tell you, every single thing they asked for was 100% appropriate, and it qualified for NOACA participation. So I have to give credit where credit is due. The city of Painesville took it seriously. They're great partners, and the relationship between the county and our county seat, Painesville, is proving to be a tremendous partnership, and we're growing in that relationship every day, and we're seeing the rewards coming back on that. So is there any other old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? All right, I'll give a quick one. The County Commissioners Association of Ohio, the Northeast District, we met last Wednesday at Camp James A. Garfield. I believe some of you may remember that as being the old Ravenna Arsenal. It is probably the single largest such facility, definitely in Ohio, but in our region. They are so well prepared, and they've made so many strides down there that it's actually a central point because of effectiveness and efficiency for our government to use that facility from other states. Normally, you want to try to keep your activities in your own state, but it's really become a significant hub, if you will, and they continue to be a major player. Also, if I could continue to talk about Lake Tran, the $14.7 million. Lake County is getting noticed. I don't think this is an overstatement. We're doing it right. Now, if we could just stay civil and not be squabbling and fussing amongst ourselves, I think we're not only catching the eye of our colleagues in the state, but we're catching the eye of our colleagues at the federal government. Dave Joyce got us an extra $1 million for our Emergency Operations Center. We're doing it right, and I think we should take some pride in that, but we need to be diligent. Our health district, I can't overstate how well regarded they are. When I'm down talking with people, County Commissioners Association, you guys get it right. There's actually some desire to, consolidate health districts in the state. There's actually more health districts than there are counties, but there's some talk of, wow, you guys are actually doing it right in consolidating counties. So that's even catching some favorable thoughts. And I think maybe you might have seen some of the smiles going on to our earlier presentations. We had a young 3-year-old out in the hallway there making full use of the windows and the nice hallway. So very family-friendly environment. Those are the kind of nice things that, Commissioner Graham was talking about getting back to normal. It's nice to see people in the audience. It's nice to have children and parents feeling safe bringing their children into a government building and just having the run of the hallway. So, Jason, when you were designing that hallway, clearly you had the youngins in mind. So, Well done, Jason. Boy, there.
I'm all about the kids.
You know all about the kids. There you go. So, gentlemen, anything you want to add to any of that? All right. So if there's no other new business, I'll move on to our second public comment portion of our meeting. Do we have anyone wishing to address the board during the second public comment portion? Anyone at all? Okay. No takers. We do have a request for executive session. There will be no business conducted afterward. The two items on the request are real estate acquisition and legal, pending, or imminent litigation. Again, there will be no business to be conducted afterward. Do I have a motion to adjourn for reasons so stated?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes, thank you. All right, thank you folks for joining us today.